everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about degrees, and especially since my last video on the 27th degree gained a little bit of traction, I thought it would be very nice to continue with the degree theory and also to serve as a reference point, because in the future I am going to record some videos regarding forensic charts, covering the deaths of some famous people. And so it makes a lot of sense to record this video prior to the others. So you have a reference point, and I in the upcoming videos can point back to this video because of the degrees. So why are degrees so important? In my point of view, degrees are very, very important, if not even more important than an aspect. Yes, you heard that right. Many astrologers, they just look at aspects. But first of all, we need to understand that it is the degree that is making the aspect, right? So you can have, for example, we have conjunctions or we have a square. And why do we have that square? Well, because it is in a tight orb, right? It is in a tight orb degree with that other planet. I hope this makes sense. So, and for me, degrees make a lot of sense. They have so much power. They can tell you so many things about your life that you don't know. We can use them, as I just mentioned, in a forensic chart when we want to know more about the victim, or the perpetrator, I should say, the perpetrator, where the perpetrator committed the crime. But we also can use it in just a plain, simple event chart when we want to find out when is the most auspicious time for something, or, as I just said, your talents, or why some people get famous, or why this person has a lot of success in that area. These are some things, believe me or not, you can see with degrees. And you know what? When I started with astrology many, many years ago, okay, it's a long time, I always thought to myself, what do these degrees mean? Because no one is talking about this. They have to have a meaning. So one thing that needs to be said here, this is not the Sabian symbol, okay? The Sabian symbol is its own system, all right? So if you don't know what a Sabian symbol is, it's spelled Sabian symbol, Sabian symbol. You can look it up. I'm not going too much into detail into this, but basically what it is that some dude channeled the degrees and got some information, like got an image, got a vision for each degree, what it means, which I have to say holds a lot of power, but this is something you can use separately, okay? I would not confuse this with what we're going to cover today, because what we're going to cover today is more based on the real astrology instead of a vision. But again, I do have to say that the Sabian symbol does work fantastically. I want to give you a brief example of my life, how I use it in my everyday life, and how one time it was so obvious, I was in shock. So one time that was I think 4 years ago, I casted an event chart for my beauty appointment at the esthetician. And okay, it sounds like a cliche, I'm going to the esthetician, but yeah. So so I chose Taurus rising for my chart, for that event chart. And again, if you ask yourself, how do you do this? Well, you can go on astroseek.com and you can cast a chart for the next days, weeks, whenever you want, okay? So, and I casted a chart so that I have Taurus rising, because Taurus rules over beauty. So, but I wanted it to be a little bit more exact. I said, okay, let's take the 0 degree, because I know that 0 degree, which we're going to talk about, 0 degree is the fullest potential of the sign. And so luckily I could book the appointment for Taurus rising at 0 degree. And so I arrive at an esthetician, And she, we have a chat. She hands me, the documents that you always have to sign, when you are at an esthetician's, and then she hands me the pen, and that pen, you guys, was a golden pink pen with a golden medal on it. And inside that golden medal, it was filled with pink again, and then in golden, the Taurus sign. And I looked at my iPhone, what time it is, and I was so in disbelief, and I looked like this. And the esthetician was like, "What is going on?" And then after the treatment, I filled her in, and she was so excited. And she was like, "Wow, this is very, very interesting." And then she said to me, "Well, can you guess which sign I am?" I said to her, "Well, you are a Scorpio." And she was like, "How do you know that?" And I said to her, "Well, I chose the appointment with Taurus rising, and the seventh house, which is you, is Scorpio, and you are the one performing the procedure." You see how this works out. Now, I have a million different stories about this, but I don't want to bore you with this. Let's get straight into what each degree means. And perhaps you recognize a pattern in your life, or even perhaps, which I think is very beautiful, perhaps you always thought, "Oh, I want to do this or that in life." And for example, in my 27th degree video, some of you really commented, "Oh, wow, I always wanted to do something in fashion, and I have the 27th degree." And this is why I like this so much, because you guys, it's not random. Another thing that is very important to mention here, if you have one of those degrees on the ascendant, it is the most potent, I would say. All right, so on the ascendant, also I found on the midheaven is also a very good one to have. But usually ascendant, sun, okay, of course the sun, ascendant, sun, and midheaven are the three placements that give the most result, in my point of view, if you want to have a look in your birth chart. No? Not in a forensic chart. This is treated different, and also in an event chart it's treated differently. But in a birth chart, just it's those three places. All right, so let's start. 0 degree. As I just mentioned in my story, the 0 degree is a very, very potent one. It is the one that has the most potential of that sign it is in. All right, so let's just put this in perspective. Let's just say someone is an Aquarius, okay? And I have to say here that for some reason it does give the more positive aspects of that sign. So someone who was a 0 degree Aquarius was Michael Hutchins from the band In Excess, which I really love, and he had 0 degrees Aquarius. And Michael Hutchins was such a good example for this, because for me he really represents that light but beautiful side of Aquarius, and that very human side as well. Because when you watch documentaries or interviews about him, a lot of people say, how sensual he was, which is an Aquarius thing. It's a fixed sign. All the fixed signs are very sensual. Okay, so that is very interesting. It also gives fame. The 0 degree, I found, oftentimes can lead to fame of some sort, whatever it is. 0 degree is the fullest potential of the sign. And it's usually, in my point of view, a good one. And of course, we can also say it's when we can see in an event chart, for example, that the matter is still very fresh. Okay, it's too young, to be quite honest, because it is the 0 degree. All right, so that is the 0 degree. Now the 1 degree. The 1 degree is ruled by Aries. Okay, this is where it starts now. This is then Aries 1. And this is a very potent one as well, but not as potent in my point of view as the 0, because the 0, as I said, gives a very, I don't want to say innocent, but it gives a very pure quality, I should say. The 1 degree is not like that. The 1 degree just shows that in which sign it is in. Let's just say it is in the sign of Capricorn. Let's just say you have I don't know, Venus and Capricorn at 1 degree, all right? Which is very interesting because the 1 degree is linked to Mars as well. So that means that you like to be more upfront, to be a go-getter. So again, so the 1st degree is a very go-getter energy. So is the 13th degree, because after 12 it starts again, and then it starts with Aries again, and so is 25. Now, I will say this again later on in the video. Once we reach, and so I would say 20 degree or 21, it gets very intense. I found the degrees from 0 to 20 to be a little bit more mild, but when it gets to 20, it gets more intense. 1 degree in the Aries degrees, 1, 13, 25, they rule over weapons, which is very handy when we talk about a criminal chart, okay, a forensic chart. So we can see that, let's just say, descendant, the ruler of the descendant has 1 degree or 13 or 25. We can say, well, the perpetrator used some sort of weapon, okay, a knife, very Aries, or a gun, also Aries, right? It also rules over the military. And of course, it rules over aggressive arguments, of course, and abuse, all right? So the 2nd degree is a very potent one as well. It's a Taurus degree. It's more potent than the 1st degree, I have to say, because the 2nd degree is a very beautiful one. It governs over music, over painting, over art, and oftentimes we can see this in people who are very known for their voice, for their paintings, and find this in singers and producers. It can indicate success in that field. Just because you have something, as I said, it's the most potent one when you have it on the sun or ascendant, right? So this is the 2nd degree. And I have to say, it also, therefore, it brings a lot of money, all right? So 2nd degree, of course, because it's Taurus, it's associated with money. And it's and in its later forms, like 14 and 26, it is like it manifests itself in a more, let's just say, when it comes to banking, nature, the color green. The 3rd degree is a Mercury degree, of course, a Gemini degree, and this governs talking, siblings, and twins. All right. Oftentimes, now this is not an exciting one, I would say, but nevertheless, if we find it in a forensic chart or even in an event chart, it can indicate that the person likes to walk, likes to talk. It rules over phones, over communication, as I just said, neighborhoods, vehicles, of course, right? So this is another thing we can see with 3 degree in a forensic chart. Now moving on to 4 degree, this is a Cancer degree. Okay, the Cancer degree rules over home, of course. I would say, okay, here's the thing. There are people who say that the 4 degree governs over fame. I'm not so sure. I'm not sold on that one. Okay, we're gonna talk about, I already told you the 0 degree gives fame. The 2nd is also a good one for that, but there are going to be even better ones than the 4 degree. So I'm not too sold on the 4 degree for fame. But again, it shows the mother nurturing your home. So it's not as an exciting degree as the other ones. And yeah, domestic country, right? So if we going to look at a crime chart or event chart, we can see, oh, okay, this took place or the missing person is in its home country, all right? So then the 5 degree, okay, this is the 5 degree is one of the stars under the degrees, along the degrees, all right? Why is that? Well, so it's a Leo degree, of course, and it just brings massive spotlight. I found a 5 degree, and I don't know what that is. And if you have that on your ascendant or sun, I am very, very jealous. There is an ease that comes with this degree, like let's just say, some people, as I just said, with the second degree, they may want to get into singing or into arts, but guess what? Not everyone is going to get that shot. But with the 5 degree, it's very easy. Now, if you have that on the ascendant or sun, and you're not there, you're doing something wrong, or there's something, or there's something in your birth chart that I don't know about. But again, it gives massive spotlight. Really, this is the kind of scenario where we would also ask ourselves, oh, why does that person get that fame and the other person not, right? And as I just said, it's like with the 5 degree, how I see it from a spiritual standpoint is it's like predetermined, like prior coming into this life, that the person was meant to be famous. That's a meant to be famous degree. You're meant to be in the spotlight with this one, and it comes easy when you have it on the ascendant or sun. All right, so the 6th degree is a Virgo degree. Now, it's very underrated. It's a very underrated degree because it rules over skill, I found. I found the 6th degree, you can find this a lot when people are very talented with something. Okay, that can be a designer, it also can show a singer. In fact, there is this, which South American country was that? There's a classical singer I think from the 60s or from the 50s, I'm not sure. I think her name was Imasuma or something like that. And she was very known for her upper register. Like she would really hit those high notes effortlessly. And she has 6th degree on the ascendant. And it oftentimes shows where a person has a skill. But of course, that skill, you need to train this, all right? Don't think that, okay, I have this, cool. Well, it takes effort. But guess what? When you put in the effort, you are very good in and whatever it is you are good in, okay? No matter what it is, can be writing, it can be cooking, no matter what it is, no matter which talent you have, this can really show that you are skilled in that. You are one of a kind with this one, with the 6th degree. Other than this, I found the 6th degree, and also I have to say, okay, if we talk about crime charts, we can see that the perpetrator is unfortunately very skilled, okay? It can also be turned upside down, all right, where the situation is not so positive and where someone, again, commits a crime and they're very skilled in that crime, all right? Now, I'm not going to go into detail, but just imagine any American Horror Story episode and you know what I mean, or Ryan Murphy production. So another thing with the 6th degree is that I found it's, even though it is a very good one for skills, as I said, it does indicate that things do not fall into our lap so easily, all right? That we really have to put in the effort, all right? It's not like with the 5th degree, with the Leo degree, where, all of a sudden you get discovered in the mall. No. With the 6th degree, you are the one who has to put in the effort. But once you do it, people recognize that. All right, so this is the 6th degree. Moving on to the 7th degree, that's a Libra degree. That's a very beautiful one. It governs over fashion, beauty, couples, weddings, everything that is Venus related, really. When we look at it from let's just say from an event chart, we can see that a couple was involved. Why? Because Libra governs over two people to be in a relationship, okay? So it also governs over the law, okay? And so again, art, music, fashion. But I would say, in my humble view, the 2nd degree is more powerful than the 7. I found. Moving on, so we have the 8th degree, which is Scorpio. And this, of course, this is another Mars degree, and it shows jealousy. Okay, oftentimes it indicates jealousy. I mean, when we talk about an event chart, a crime chart, in your birth chart, it may mean that you are a person that goes the extra mile, that sign it is in. Okay, again, let's take again the example of Capricorn, because this is actually a good one. If it is in Capricorn, I would say the 8th degree, it really shows that you go the extra mile. It's very good. It's just, I think it's very good for being consistent, and for showing up, and for really get things going, right? So the 9th degree is, of course, Sagittarius, and it rules over travel, agencies, being abroad, horses, okay, because of the sign of Sagittarius. Then foreigners, okay. So again, in an event chart, we can see foreigners with that. Perhaps if you have this, let's just say your Venus is at 9 degree, you are attracted to foreigners, or you may find your true love or your love in a foreign country, right? So then we have the 10th degree, which is a very interesting one. This one is a Capricorn degree, and it governs over the Capricorn things, I would say, like slow, delay, public, like office, everything that is Saturn related. It oftentimes can indicate, when you have it on the ascendant, that your life is not going to be as easy, perhaps. But even though, here's a signal of hope for you. I have found that the 10 degree, I don't know why, that sometimes it gives a little bit of a teeny tiny bit of luck, where, let's just say, you think your life is not so great, but guess what? Your family pays your bills. And I'm sorry, no matter how your age, I don't know about you, but I do think this is luck. Okay, not everyone has their family paying their bills. This is just an example, right? This is really just an example. It can be other examples how you still can have some sort of luck. But I'm just pointing it out there that with the 10 degree, things get a little bit more difficult. But nevertheless, there is a little teeny tiny bit of luck attached. Probably because the number 10 is associated with the Wheel of Fortune in tarot. This is a theory of mine. I don't know. Could be, right? But yeah, and also it shows snow in an event chart. Snow, coldness, black, the color black. The 11th degree is Aquarius. And this is a very, very interesting one, because Aquarius is a very abrupt sign. It's a very unpredictable degree, I should say, the 11th degree. But it can show things like, let's just say, like an interruption, high places, okay? High places are governed by like tall buildings are governed by the 11th degree. Helping others, technology, everything that is like Uranus, to break free, electric shocks, especially when we talk about, again, a crime chart. We can see that, something happened very abruptly, and in a very shocking way. Yeah, so this is the 11th degree. Then we have the 12th degree, which is a Pisces degree, and you can find this oftentimes in actors who are very successful in Hollywood. A lot of them have the 12th degree. It makes a lot of sense to me because, Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces, right? And Neptune just gives that allure, that dreamy effect that you need to work in movies. So we can find 12th degree oftentimes associated with acting, with everything Neptune related, but it's also one where drugs are involved, narcotica, alcohol. it's 1 degree. Like if you have this in your chart, you have to be very careful with drugs. All right. It also showcases addiction oftentimes. And yeah, so the 12th degree, and of course, everything that is mysterious is the 12th degree. We can see this in a crime chat. We see, oh, okay, this person, this is very mysterious, out of focus, disguised, a mystery, really. So yeah, this is the 12th degree. Now, after the 12th degree, it just repeats itself. So 13 is Aries again, 14 is Taurus, 15 is Gemini, and so on and so on and so forth. Now, I'm not gonna say it again. However, I want to talk briefly about the degrees that start with 20. All right. Or let's just say, we should say 22, especially. All degrees that are the degrees that are more mature in that sign. What I mean by that is that they spend a lot more time in that sign. Okay, this is what I want to say. The planet spend a little more time in that sign. And this is what we can see with, once we get to the 22 degrees. So let's start with the 22. So 22 again is Capricorn. But this one, according to Nikola Stojanovic, and I'm so sorry that I'm mentioning his name now. I should have mentioned Nikola Stojanovic at the very beginning of this video. He was a brilliant astrologer, one who really gave rise to the degree theory. A great astrologer. He's deeply missed. He was just brilliant. However, I have to say, okay, I forgot one that is but let's just keep, you see, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's continue with the 22, and then we have to go back because I forgot one very important one. So the 22 degree is a Capricorn degree, and it governs, over, according to Nikola Stojanovic, it could mean to be killed or to kill. Now, if you have this in your chart, it doesn't mean that that's going to happen to you. What it can show, though, is that something very... So, for example, I know someone who had an illness for a very, very long time, and they had the 22, and they had to fight through this. So oftentimes we can see a person has a lot of control, let's just say like that, also having control over others. So we have to go back to the 18 degree. This is it's one of the most famous ones. Okay, so the 18 degree is a Virgo degree, right? So, according to Nikola Stojanovic, he says it's a diabolical degree. I disagree with that. Now, we can see definitely, and I agree with Nikola in one thing. It does show where there is malicious intent in a crime chart, definitely. But it doesn't mean that everyone who has it in their chart, that everyone is a bad person. Now, one thing needs to be said here about the devil, quote unquote. Nikola Stojanovic used to be, I think, very religious. I'm not religious. I'm an occultist. I see the devil, quote unquote, from a teeny tiny different point of view. Especially when we talk about Rudolf Steiner, his workings. He talks about two kinds of devils, like the good devil and the bad devil. And basically the good devil is just the one that is wants you to lure into sin. When we talk about sin, like sex or drinking, or like sex, drugs, and rock and roll, which in my point of view is not that bad. Okay, but I'm also into rock and roll. But we can find this actually in a lot of rock musicians. It's excellent. The 18 degree is an excellent degree to have if you are a rock musician. Ozzy Osbourne had it on his ascendant, if I'm not mistaken. He was called the Prince of Darkness, right? And also Jeff Buckley, another one that I love Jeff Buckley. And Jeff Buckley was not dark per se, even though I would say that his music was more on the melancholic side of things. but it really shows where a person has a gift for rock music. So that's very good for rock music, the 18th degree. But other than that, I would say when we talk about the bad devil, according to Rudolf Steiner, the bad devil, I think he means Ahriman, and that is a very it's supposed to be an evil being entity which governs over materialism. All right, so everything what the elite is working towards, like more money, more things, total control, no humanity, AI. AI over everything. This would be the bad devil. All right. So, and the good devil, quote unquote, even though I have to admit, it's not like the good devil is only good, okay? The good devil is also going to test you, all right? I know that firsthand. But it is a good one. I have to admit, it really is a good one for rock musicians. And other than that, we can see it, and it is true, we can see it where a crime has been meditated, where people have very malicious intentions, where people are just evil, and that is it. All right. But I thought it would be nice to point out there that if you have this in your chart, it doesn't mean that you are evil. If you have this, for example, in Venus, it means that you may be attracted to a femme fatale, okay, to to a woman who is like, like sexy and a bit devilish, that this is what it means. Basta. It doesn't, period. It doesn't have to be that dramatic. So moving on to, okay, then we have the 23 degree, which is again an Aquarius degree. Then we have the 24. And I'm going to move on now to the ones that are very important in my point of view. So, and these are, okay, 24 is Pisces. Then we have 25 is Aries again. Then we come to one of the stars, which is the 27 degree, which I made a video on that I'm going to link here somewhere again. And the 27 degree, which I found, and I'm as far as I know, I'm the only one talking about this. And if anyone talks about this, it's because they found my video. No, really. It is a Gemini degree, as we know, and it governs over fashion, commerce, and writing. And I found this degree in a lot of top models and a lot of famous people. A lot of people that we know to be famous for their quote-unquote beauty have this in their chart. Now, why is that? Well, because the fashion industry is ruled by Mercury. It's not ruled by Venus, as many people think. No, if the fashion industry would be ruled by Venus, we would have different faces and different body types on the runway, okay? And if you think, well, the models nowadays, they look very feminine to me. You want to look twice because most of them have a lot of androgynous features, all right? So I would not say that my face is androgynous. Why? Because I have a lot of Venus on my chart, all right? So if anything, I'm very Venus coded. And again, fashion industry is ruled by Mercury. So 27 degree, you will find us at top models. Anna Wintour has that. People who are associated with fashion, with commerce, with also writing, all right? So famous writers can have the 27 degree. So then the 28 degree, which according to, I think it was Nikolai Stoyanovich, is a very good one to have. And people associate that with the billionaire. I don't know. I have it on my son. I'm not a billionaire. But it does also show where someone has a household name, okay? Where someone has perhaps some sort of talent that makes them a household name. And again, it governs over fame, the 28 degree, but as I said, for me, it's more the 27. I don't know why. So it's 27, 28, and 5 degrees, and 0. So 0, 5, 27, 28, and 29, which we are going to talk about now. So the 29, which everyone knows about, is a Leo degree, and it is an anaretic degree. It is a karmic one. It's full crisis, but oftentimes we can see people with the 29 degree also being in the spotlight. 29 also shows us in an event chart that something very bad happened. Okay, that something that a family member or anything like that was involved because of the sign of Leo, right? So, so you guys, I may do a part two on this one because this was just a quickie for me. If I forgot something, I am going to do a part two. But other than that, I think I'm going to leave it now because I have to say, how you use those degrees is that a very skilled astrologer, in my point of view, uses logic and intuition. And oftentimes you have to look on the individual's chart or on the event chart to work with that degree, and then it makes more sense. I could go on and talk about it, but it wouldn't make that much sense without a chart. And in the future, we're going to cover some charts. All right, guys. So, with that being said, thank you so much for watching. And please comment and leave some likes, and please share this video. It really would help the channel. I'm trying to get back again. And yeah, see you soon. I hope you enjoyed this, and I love you. Bye. Bye bye.